Elena just borrowed $60,000 against her house. She did it on the same day her sister got a letter about defaulting on student loans. Same family, same week, two completely different debt crises colliding in the same kitchen. My name is Jack, and last video we talked about the $409 billion rule change quietly rewriting student debt for 40 million Americans. I told you this connects to something bigger. This is that video, because right now, at the exact same moment student loan defaults are spiking, millions of homeowners are doing something they haven't done at this scale since right before 2008. They're borrowing against their houses, and almost nobody is asking the obvious question: what happens when both of these things break at the same time? Elena is 41. She lives outside Phoenix. Her sister Sarah, the teacher from our last video, is drowning in a new student loan plan she didn't fully understand. Elena watched it happen, and Elena made a decision. She has $340,000 of equity sitting in her house, untouched, on paper. So she opened the HELOC, a home equity line of credit, and pulled out $60,000, some to help her sister, some to consolidate her own credit card debt. It felt smart. It felt safe. Her house is the collateral after all, and houses don't disappear. Here's what Elena doesn't know yet. She's not alone. She's one of millions of people making the exact same bet at the exact same time for the exact same reasons. And the last time this many people made this same bet, it ended in 2008. Let's start with a number that should stop you for a second. American homeowners are currently sitting on roughly $11 trillion in tappable home equity. That's money they could legally borrow against right now, today, without selling their homes. Here's the strange part. 97% of that $11 trillion went completely untouched last year. Almost nobody used it. So when you hear that home equity borrowing is booming, understand what that actually means. It's booming relative to almost nothing. The total pile of unused equity is so enormous that even a small shift towards borrowing creates record-breaking numbers everywhere you look. And that shift is happening right now. Lenders issued over $40 billion in new home equity loans last year and authorized $271 billion in new HELOCs. HELOC balances have now grown for 16 straight quarters in a row. That's 4 years of non-stop climbing with no signs of slowing down. So why is everyone suddenly tapping their houses at once? 3 reasons, and they're stacking on top of each other. First, home values exploded after the pandemic. The average homeowner with a mortgage has seen their equity grow by 142% since 2020. People are sitting on more paper wealth than they've ever had in their lives. Second, credit card debt got brutal. The average credit card charges around 21% interest right now. A HELOC, even at a relatively high rate, often sits around 7 to 8%. For someone drowning in 21% debt, moving it to a HELOC at 7% isn't greed, it's basic math. It can save a qualified borrower over $4,000 a year in interest alone. Third, and this is the one that connects directly to our last video, student loan stress is pushing families toward their houses as a release valve. When Sarah's payment under the new RAP plan started climbing and there was no escape hatch, no $0 floor, families like Elena's started looking for any other source of cash. The house became the backup plan. Quick reminder before we go further. I'm not your financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. This is the mechanics, laid out clearly so you understand exactly what's happening before you make a six-figure decision based on a headline. Here's where this gets sharp. The HELOC of 2026 is not the HELOC your parents remember. Lenders have quietly changed the rules. It used to work like a credit card. You opened a line of credit and you only drew money and paid interest when you actually needed it. Pure flexibility. That's changing. Many lenders now require large, mandatory upfront draws the moment you open the line. Some are adding inactivity fees if you don't use enough of it. The product that used to reward caution now quietly punishes it. Think about what that means. A safety net is supposed to sit there, ready, costing you nothing until you need it. The new version of this safety net charges you for not needing it badly enough. Now here's the part that should genuinely concern you, because we've actually seen this movie before. In the years leading up to 2008, homeowners treated their houses like an ATM. Home equity withdrawals hit historic highs. People believed home values only moved in one direction, up. When that belief broke, it broke everyone holding debt against a falling asset all at once. We are not in 2008, to be clear about that, but some of the early warning signs are flashing again. More than 1.1 million homeowners ended last year with negative equity, meaning they owe more than their house is worth. That's the highest level since early 2018. Average homeowner equity actually fell by about $8,500 between the end of 2024 and the end of 2025. Not a crash, a crack. And serious HELOC delinquencies, borrowers 90 or more days behind, are quietly rising too. Remember, an HELOC uses your house as collateral. Default seriously enough, and foreclosure is the actual legal endpoint. This isn't credit card debt that just wrecks your score. This is debt with your front door attached to it. If this is connecting dots for you the way it did with our last video, hit that like button. It helps more than you'd think, and it tells me you want these deeper breakdowns instead of just headlines. Okay, let's get into where this actually intersects with the student loan crisis directly. Here's the collision nobody's mapped out clearly. Picture the same household, two debts, two timelines, both peaking at once. On one side, student loan borrowers, 40 million people navigating a repayment system that just got rebuilt, with 30-year timelines and no payment ceiling. Defaults are happening every 8 seconds. On the other, homeowners, many of them parents or family members of those same student loan borrowers, leaning on their houses to help cover the gap or to consolidate their own rising costs. These aren't two separate economic stories. In millions of households, they're the same story told from two rooms of the same house. Elena's HELOC and Sarah's RAP payment are connected by something far more direct than coincidence. They're connected by the same underlying pressure, incomes that haven't kept pace with the cost of staying afloat. So here's the genuinely uncomfortable question. What happens if home values dip at the same moment millions of student loan borrowers are defaulting and losing access to credit? Homeowners with HELOCs see their available equity shrink or disappear if values fall, sometimes triggering a reduction in their credit line entirely, sometimes without much warning. Meanwhile, student loan defaults are already wrecking credit scores by an average of 91 points, which makes refinancing that same HELOC or qualifying for new credit at all significantly harder right when families need flexibility the most. It's not that either crisis alone is a guaranteed disaster. It's that they're now happening on overlapping timelines in overlapping households, eating into the same family balance sheet from two different directions. So what does a reasonably smart move look like here if you're a homeowner thinking of tapping your equity right now? First, understand exactly what kind of HELOC you're being offered. Ask directly whether there's a mandatory upfront draw and whether there's an inactivity fee. The flexible draw only when needed HELOC still exists, but you may have to shop around several lenders to find one, since some have quietly moved away from that model entirely. Second, know the tax reality before you borrow. As of the current rules, made permanent under the same law that rewrote student loan repayment, HELOC interest is only tax deductible if the money goes toward buying, building, or substantially improving the home that secures the loan. Using it for debt consolidation, tuition, or vacation means no deduction, no matter what a lender's marketing implies. If the deduction is part of your math, keep the funds in a separate account and document every dollar. Third, treat the equity in your house as a tool for fixing the underlying math, not a way to delay facing it. Elena's move to consolidate 21% credit card debt at 7% is genuinely sound math. Using the same line of credit to indefinitely cover a structural income gap month after month is a different decision entirely, and a much riskier one, because now your house is absorbing a debt that never gets smaller. Here's the thread connecting both of these videos. The $409 billion student loan rule change didn't happen in isolation. The home equity borrowing boom didn't happen in isolation either. They're both symptoms of the same underlying pressure. Millions of American households trying to stretch the same paycheck across more obligations than it was ever built to cover. Elena and Sarah aren't in two separate financial stories. They're in the same one. And so are a lot of the people watching this right now. The house isn't a magic solution, and neither is a 30-year repayment plan with no ceiling. Both are tools. Both can help. And both can quietly turn into the very trap they were supposed to help you avoid, if you don't understand exactly how they work before you sign. If these two videos finally connected the dots for you, subscribe, because next in this series we're going even deeper. What actually happens to home prices and the broader economy if the lock-in effect breaks at the same time millions of defaulted borrowers lose access to credit entirely? That's where this story goes next. I'll see you in the next one.